That was fantastic, amazing. Thank you very much. And don't you feel blessed right now? All right. Well, give the Lord a hand clap. I'm Kevin Langford. I'll be one of your MCs for the two-day event, and it's a pleasure to be here. I just want to let you know I'm from WYCB 1340 AM Gospel Radio. And Sinclair Skinner and I had a great conversation on the show where we talked about this cryptocurrency, about this world that we're in, and about his invention, BitMari. Give him a hand. It's about to get real in here. So if you're ready to advance your career, are you ready to launch a new one? Are you ready to be seen as a recognized leader in your area of expertise and passion? Well, give yourselves a big hand. You're in the right place at the right time. And so now I have the esteemed privilege and honor to introduce our keynote speaker, Lindsay Parker, the Chief Technology Officer from the DC government. Lindsay Parker was nominated by Mayor Muriel Bowser to be the Chief Technology Officer in January 2019, and she's the first black woman in a major city in the world nominated for this role.
All right.
Yeah, you can applaud. Lindsay was unanimously confirmed by the DC Council on March 5th, 2019. Lindsay previously served as Mayor Bowser's Deputy Chief of Staff. As the district's Chief Technology Officer, Lindsay will work to enable DC government agencies to securely leverage technology to better serve the residents, businesses, and visitors of Washington, D.C. Ladies and gentlemen, let's show some love to Lindsay Parker.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I don't have a radio voice, is what I just realized. Excuse me. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm honored and thrilled to be with you, kicking off what I know is going to be 2 days of wonderful conversations, wonderful networking. And so my staff might grimace a little bit, but they gave me some talking points, and I kind of threw them out this morning and tried again. So bear with me. I thought it was only telling that we're gathered here today, a decade after the first white paper on Bitcoin was published, a year after, if you Google searched blockchain, it resulted in about 133 million results. To this morning, 253 million results, right? Just in a year. So the momentum is moving in the right direction. And so I was shocked last night when I flipped on the television, the New York Times' new FX show called The Weekly. Have you seen it? Check it out. It looked into what our industries used to deem the gold standard to beat, Apple's supply chain. And the segment started with the following quote, and I brought my phone as an example. It said, "If you're watching this on your phone, you may be holding illegally mined gold from Colombia, where the precious metal has replaced cocaine as the main source of income for organized crime. The growing demand for gold as a conducive metal used in phones and other electronic products has helped spawn a deadly illegal trade that's harder to track than other black market commodities like blood diamonds or drugs. Illegal gold is melted down and mixed with other gold at various points in the supply chain, masking its criminal origins." Right? That was the first thing I heard as I turned on the television last night. I was like, oh, only appropriate that I'm going to a conversation like this. So the potential for abuse, death, and dismemberment of the gold miners and others along that supply chain to make this, right, is pretty high. A solution to provide even more assurance about supply chain visibility? Well, I think you eat, sleep, and breathe it every day, right? But that's why you're here. So blockchain, but perhaps with a slightly different twist, is why we're gathered here today. It's because we have a guiding North Star of equity. And so I want to talk about it a little bit. So while I know I'm not supposed to start on such a dour note, I think of this as an opportunity that you and I share responsibility for. And it's why, on behalf of Washington, D.C.'s Mayor Muriel Bowser and the 700,000 residents of Washington, D.C., I'm so thrilled to welcome each and every one of you to the second annual Black Blockchain Summit on the campus of Howard University. So welcome. So you're going to have to excuse me, and I think I talked to Sinclair a little bit about this, but my grandparents met Alma and Don Parker. I called their name a little while ago at what sometimes smirkingly around here is referred to as the other HU. At that time, though, it was Hampton Institute, so I think I'm allowed to be here. But my cousin saved our family honor and went to Howard Law School, so we made up for it. So I'm proud to be here today. And as Mr. Langford so kindly pointed out, my name is Lindsay Parker, and I truly believe that I have the greatest job in the world as the Chief Technology Officer for DC government. And so you're going to be like, what? Why do you think you have the greatest job in the world? Well, let me tell you. DC is unique. I think we're unique in the continent of the United States, but we're really unique globally, where we operate as a city, county, and state government in one. Separate from, please do not confuse us, with the federal government that owns about 60% of our commercial property, yet doesn't allow us to have a voting representative in Congress. So again, we need that equity North Star, right? That we need to sort of think about. My office acts more like what you would know as a traditional IT shop, as a CIO, where we maintain our own 800-mile fiber network, along with the networking infrastructure, the device management, application development, data sharing, service desk operations that goes along with that. We help the 70 plus, and every day that changes, agencies of Washington, D.C.'s local government, including our public schools. We have techs in all the schools, our police, our firefighters, and other first responders, and the University of the District of Columbia. So when you think about a typical IT shop, usually you don't have to support all those varied entities, but we do. That's why, again, greatest job in the world. What I try to help them do is leverage secure, user-focused technology to enable better services for the residents, businesses, and more than 28 million visitors a year that come to the nation's capital. So in my 7th month on the job, I was asked for my 4-year plan. And Mayor Bowser challenged us to, in quotes, ensure that everyone living and doing business in Washington, D.C. is giving and getting their fair share. To that equity point again, I hope you'll hear a theme. She challenged us to work to advance together and make sure that a rising tide does indeed lift all boats. So in the recently released Resilient DC plan, a smarter DC is goal 3. And so that speaks to those smart city kind of goals that you'll hear kind of rhetorically throughout the world. Because we envision a DC that embraces these advancements in technology while minimizing the negative consequence of change. So interestingly, I think my plan has a lot to do with what you're discussing over the next 2 days. I'm hoping to fund, manage, and operate technology investments with an inclusive lens and a service-centric focus. And this is where I stopped writing and wanted to sort of be a little bit more free in how I communicated, and wanted to ask you a few questions. So one of the things that I'm focused on is automating traditional IT services. And the question is how, right? And I think some of the things that you're going to be discussing over the next 2 days is going to help us think through that. We need to create a governance structure, right, to verify business processes, to verify supply chain sourcing partners, so I don't get in trouble, right, for sourcing something like Apple did. Is that something that you think about in the blockchain world, right? The second thing I need to do is I need to realize a re-envisioned digital experience for DC government customers. So how do I do that? I need to demystify technology for our communities of color, so that we ensure that we have a seat at the table and that we're not creating a technology-enabled government that leaves people behind, right? Is that something that at the Blockchain Summit we're going to contemplate? I think so. I hope so. And thirdly, I need to partner to create the nation's leading inclusive digitally enabled region. And I sort of talked a little bit about this with some of you beforehand. We have about 26 different governments that operate in this region. So we have to connect with counties and states and other cities next door, Prince George's, Montgomery, Fairfax, et cetera. And so those 26 governments operate this region of 5 million people, which is one of the largest economies in the nation. So just kind of grapple with that. And we've got the potential to grow by another 1 million people by 2045. And so how do we think through the interoperability of those 26 governments, right? I think blockchain might help. And then lastly is just prioritizing cybersecurity as a risk management strategy and really thinking through the trust, right, that we need to establish as we build that interoperability, as we ensure that we're creating a new and inclusive digital experience for DC residents. And so in DC, we want to create what I say since I've started this job is an infrastructure for opportunity. To open up new opportunities for collaboration and partnerships. We want to provide values that guide and drive innovation with a purpose. And we want to do that with you, with each of you, by ensuring that our inclusive innovation ecosystem in DC has a seat at the table for everyone to grow and to innovate. And so that's why I'm so thrilled to be here this morning with such a smart group of people, impassioned and thoughtful about how we're going to do just that. And so I'm challenging you to spend the next 2 days to think about ways that you can help me think through some of the challenges that I've laid out there, and at the same time think through ways that I can help you. And that's really sort of my ask of this summit, of this convening of really smart people, because what I want to do is make sure that DC is thought of as the place that's driving inclusive innovation, and we're doing it in a way that's not leaving people behind. So I really appreciate your time, and I can't wait to hear more of the thoughts that you come up with over the next 2 days. Thank you so much. All right, Mr. Langford?
That was great.
All right,
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Chief Technology Officer Lindsay Parker. Give her a big round of applause. All right. And we'd also just like to welcome you officially to the Black Blockchain Summit 2019. And I mean, it's just a lot in store. So get ready, get set, get your pencils and paper out. It's now time to answer the question of cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, and how to avoid scams. Please give a big round of applause to our next speaker, Evander Smart. Come on, give him a thunderous hand clap. How you feel?
Good morning. Good morning. This is my second year speaking at the Black Blockchain Summit. It is my privilege and honor to be here. Thank you so much, and thank you all for being here. So I'd like to again introduce myself. I'm the founder and CEO of Bitcoin University. I've been in the Bitcoin space since the spring of 2013, and I started creating Bitcoin University in 2015 with the goal of teaching the world about the future of money. So this is my mission statement. I feel that this is why I'm here. Before Bitcoin, I spent 4 years on Wall Street as a Wall Street banker, and I've been in financial services for about 13 years through education and real-world experiences between Bitcoin, Wall Street, and my college education. So again, thank you for being here. Before I talk to you about Bitcoin or Bitcoin University, I would like to tell you a story. I'm not the greatest storyteller, so please bear with me, but a very wise man once told me that sharing wisdom is a good idea, but sharing it in a story is when greatness appears. So here it goes. It's called Acres of Diamonds. Some of you may have heard this story, some of you may not. I certainly didn't write the story. It's a very old story, but it's very appropriate for what we're going to talk about here today. Acres of Diamonds is the story of an African farmer who heard tales of other farmers who had made millions by discovering diamond mines. Now, these tales so excited this farmer that he could hardly wait to sell his farm to go prospecting for the diamonds in the diamond mines himself. So the farmer quickly sold his farm and spent many, many years, the rest of his life really, wandering the great African continent, searching unsuccessfully for these gleaming gems that would make him a wealthy man. Now an old man, beaten and alone after many, many years and depressed, in a fit of despondency, he finally threw himself into a nearby river and drowned. Meanwhile, the man who had purchased his farm many years ago happened to be crossing a small stream on the property one day, when suddenly there was a shining blue light from the stream below. He bent down, picked up the stone. It was a good-sized stone, and admiring it, he brought it home and put it on his fireplace mantle as an interesting curiosity. Several weeks later, a visitor picked up the stone, looked closely at it, held it in his hand, and nearly fainted. He asked the farmer if he knew what he had found. The farmer said no, that he thought it was just a piece of crystal, and the visitor told him he found one of the largest diamonds ever discovered. The farmer had trouble believing that. He told the man that his creek was full of such stones, not all as large as the one on the mantle, but sprinkled generously throughout the creek on his property. The farm the first farmer had sold so that he might find a diamond mine someday turned out to be one of the largest diamond mines in the history of Africa. The first farmer had owned free and clear acres of diamonds, but he sold them for practically nothing in order to look for them elsewhere. So why do I tell you this story? If the first farmer had only taken the time to educate himself as to what diamonds were like, all of his wildest dreams would have come true. In other words, his desire was powerful, so powerful that it ended up costing him his life. The difference was his lack of education that kept him from the success that he sought all his life. His downfall was not being educated enough to reach his goals. He didn't know what wealth looked like, where to find it, or how to protect it, if he had it. He had it all in his hands, on his property, and he didn't even know it. Today, we have these acres of diamonds right here in the palm of your hand, and they are called Bitcoins. And you can hold them right here if you like. Millions of these digital diamonds, these Bitcoins, are available to those who educate themselves. Anyone that I've ever met in the space who has been a big part of Bitcoin has been a big part of financial education. In my 6 years, those who are financially educated tend to own Bitcoins. Those who are not do not own Bitcoins. So it again comes back down to education. So I created Bitcoin University in 2015 with the goal to educate the world in the future of money. Why should you listen to me when it comes to Bitcoin? Well, I was a Wall Street banker from 2008 to 2011, so I've been on both sides of the street, if you will. I left Wall Street because I knew we could do better than the Federal Reserve or negative interest rates. I left Wall Street in 2011 to find a better way forward, and I discovered Bitcoin in 2013 during the fall of Cyprus. I started writing about Bitcoin. As a writer, I've been paid in Bitcoin to write close to 1,000 articles over the years from 2014 to 2017 for some of the top Bitcoin online news sites like CryptoCoins News, Cointelegraph, Bitcoin.com, and others. I've also been tested and certified as a certified Bitcoin professional or expert since 2015 by the DCC or the Digital Currency Council. As you can see, here's my official badge. I've also been certified as a blockchain expert in 2018 by the Blockchain Council. So many people in the community consider me a Bitcoin expert. So you may have seen a mainstream reporter say, oh, I lived on Bitcoin for a week, or I traveled around the world on Bitcoin. Well, I've walked the walk for much longer than that. What I've discovered over the last 6 years is that I'm not going back to Wall Street. I found a better, more righteous path forward inside of the Bitcoin community. And hopefully you can join me and an estimated over 30 million others around the world and find a better path forward for yourself as well. What is a Bitcoin? Well, let's go over the broad strokes of it. Built for the 21st century, it's basically the first currency in the world built for the 21st century or built to work on your smartphone. It is faster. Many currencies are designed nowadays to move quickly from one machine to another, but this is the first one that confirms in 10 minutes. It can confirm in less than that, depending on your wants and needs. It is built upon an immutable anti-fraud ledger, which we now know as blockchain technology, and this removes debt and fraud from the system, unlike a lot of our economic networks that we use today. It is transparent yet secure. So many people who do not understand Bitcoin think it lacks security or transparency, but it actually offers you both, and it's the first currency of its kind. It can be used by anyone, anywhere in the world, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There are no banker's hours. There's no limitations based on your race, creed, whether you're a visitor, your age, your location. If you are in the African bush, you're 50 miles away from the nearest bank, all you have to do is have a $15 flip phone and you can still use Bitcoin. It is actually commonly used in the great continent of Africa. It makes you your own bank. For the first time, you have the opportunity to become your own banking system. And it is now the gold standard for all future economic systems. I would estimate by the year 2025, the United States and the G20 nations will have moved on from fiat currencies, and they've gone to their own versions of Bitcoin. Did you know that some of the world's top corporations are accepting, testing, and using Bitcoin right now as we speak? These include Dish Network, Wikipedia, including WikiLeaks, which is where actually first endorsement. WikiLeaks was releasing too much sacred information, killing too many sacred cows. So PayPal shut down their account, so they started accepting Bitcoin. This would be around 2014, 2013 or so. Earlier. Thank you, Tom. Sorry about that. Dell Computers, PayPal, Microsoft, AT&T just started accepting Bitcoin for payments a couple months ago. So the community is growing quite quickly with some major players. Now, going back to what I was saying before as far as being the standard for future currencies, in 2015, IBM sat down with the Federal Reserve to talk to them about creating their own version of Bitcoin, their own national currency system. In Japan, the great nation of Japan, it is actually legal tender to use Bitcoin. On April 1st, 2017, no April Foolin', officially accepted as a national form of currency in Japan is Bitcoin. So you can pay your taxes, you can pay your light bill with Bitcoin in the nation of Japan. And other nations are following suit. Sweden really doesn't use cash anymore. They generally use plastic for everything. And they say by the end of this decade, they should have their national digital currency set up. Ecuador has a digital cash system. Ukraine says it will create a national digital currency. And Japan says for the 2020 Olympics, which will be held in Japan, they should have J-Coin launched by the summer of 2020. So the point here is the handwriting is on the wall. You will be using a digital currency in the future. The only question is, which one will you choose? A national centralized digital currency like the ones we just went over, or a global decentralized currency like Bitcoin? My recommendation to you is to choose your digital currency wisely, because if you make the wrong choice, you may get a lot more than you bargained for. Now, besides creating the digital currency standard for the next century, Bitcoin has also introduced the world to what is known as blockchain technology, or mainstream people will call it a DLT, or a distributed ledger technology. Blockchains are in effect operating systems that store blocks of information. They can be open and public like Bitcoin, or they can be closed and private like you will see in the banking and the national sector in the years to come. And they act as ledgers for future mainstream economic systems, commercial banking, and government. But between these two inventions, the digital currency of Bitcoin and the underlying blockchain technology, Bitcoin has simply and elegantly changed the world forever. Now, Bitcoin has also changed the future of economics, but the future of investing as well. Here's an example. If you go back to the summer of 2016, Bitcoins were trading for less than $700 at that time. And now 3 years later, they're trading for over $10,000. So they're up almost 2,000% in just the last 3 years. So in other words, if you had invested just $10,000 in Bitcoin 3 years ago, today you have almost $200,000, enough to buy a house in cash. I'd take it. Where do you want to be 3 years from now, economically? I believe that Bitcoin can help take you there. Look at it another way. If you started investing when I got started in the spring of 2013, just $4,500, today you'd have over $1 million US in your account. So things change fast in Bitcoin. I think that's the point. So Bitcoin has three provable use cases. One, I think its primary use in the future is going to be as the investment vehicle. It was designed to be an incredible digital currency, and it is, but I think it's going to be used most as an investment vehicle. Number two, the world's first global, scalable, and decentralized digital currency network. And three, a proven technology platform where you can create blockchains or altcoins or small contracts or decentralized identities. People are storing information on the blockchain. The people are getting married on the blockchain. People in Honduras are putting their title deeds on the blockchain in order to protect them from theft, revisions, those type of things. There's a lot of problems in that part of the world. So you can store things securely on the immutable ledger. And what I've done is I've created Bitcoin University to show you how all of this can work for you. So just search Bitcoin University on your smartphone or any search engine. And I've done the SEO myself. It'll come up first in any search engine result. So just type in Bitcoin University, and it should come up first organically. Bitcoin University has created the ultimate in Bitcoin education and training for 2019 and beyond. So if you need an answer as to why, how, or where to use Bitcoin, you now have the best online resource for all of your Bitcoin needs. So I've created dozens of videos. There's about 70 videos, about 18 hours worth of videos in there, and 5 downloadable ebooks that I've written to help you learn how altcoins work, 30 ways Bitcoin changes the future of money, and how Bitcoin changed the world. Really a get started, quick start guide for using Bitcoin. Here we make Bitcoin videos like watch me do a Bitcoin transaction. A lot of people think you have to be some type of tech genius, have to be particularly smart to do a Bitcoin transaction. That could not be further from the truth. If I can do a Bitcoin transaction, you can too. It's a lot like paying an online bill. So if you use PayPal or eBay, if you can copy and paste, you can do a Bitcoin transaction. So this video is actually very short. It's about 6 minutes. In 3 minutes, it's just explaining what I'm doing while I'm doing it. So you can watch me like sit on my shoulder and watch me do a Bitcoin transaction. It's actually fairly simple. There are just a few key differences. Bitcoin's biggest problem. You may have heard of a bunch of Bitcoin's biggest problems from people who have never owned a Bitcoin, mainly the mainstream or what people like to call the fake news. But I've been in this space for over 6 years. I think I'm a little bit more qualified to explain to you what the biggest problem is. And unfortunately, the biggest problem does affect people who are brand new to Bitcoin, who are just getting started using it. So I suggest you watch this video before you start using Bitcoin. Bitcoin's blockchain technology. Bitcoin changes the world again. So again, Bitcoin is really 2 inventions, or it's being broken into 2 inventions. Bitcoin's blockchain technology is really the operating system that Bitcoin works on top of. So I do a deep dive into what a blockchain is, why it works for Bitcoin, how it will be used in the mainstream, how it will not be as successful in the mainstream as people in the mainstream think it will be, and again, how you will be interacting with the blockchain over the next decade, whether you know it or not. Bitcoin taxation, what to expect when the tax man cometh. So if you are entering Bitcoin University, I'm generally marketing it to people in America. There will be a tax obligation if you are buying and using Bitcoins, but not only do I go over the facts and figures, but I actually provide you with links and people who can help you with these tax obligations, people who are certified Bitcoin tax professionals who can assist you with any tax obligations you may incur. Bitcoin versus the US dollar. Would you like a Tesla or a Mercedes? This is a fun video. I love luxury cars. Maybe a lot of you do too. And what I do is basically I compare a Bitcoin to a Tesla Model S and a US dollar to a Mercedes S-Class. The US dollar is the global reserve currency. It's the most powerful paper currency we have in the world. And the Mercedes S-Class is many considered the standard in a luxury car experience. The Tesla is the new way of doing things as far as luxury cars go, and it reminds me a lot of a Bitcoin. So I compare the 2 cars, and then I can compare the 2 currencies. And you can see, maybe by watching this video, where the world of money is going here in the 21st century, and which one may be right for you going forward. No cash, no excuse. How to get Bitcoin even if you're broke. This goes back to my getting started back in 2013. When I got started, I was living hand to mouth. I did not have a lot of money to throw into Bitcoin. I had to kind of hustle to get started. So this goes over how people who don't have a lot of money can get started using Bitcoin, even if they don't have a lot of money to throw at the situation. Is Bitcoin money? This is a very important video because a lot of people really in this room, a lot of people, period, don't understand what money is. That's one of the main things I learned by being on Wall Street for 4 years, is that people really don't understand money at all. They think dollars are money. This is not the case. And I go over what money is. I think that's very important for you to understand what money is. I give you links to people who can illustrate this even better than I can, and then break down how Bitcoin falls into this category. So I think this is very important to understand for your economic education as you go forward. And where do I go from here getting started fast with Bitcoin? I create basically a video, quick start guide. So you can travel through the community like an expert and really cut down your learning curve. It took me about 6 months to get comfortable with this technology myself. I don't want you to have to waste your time like that. We've come a long way in the last 6 years. It's a lot easier to use now than when I got started. And if you basically have someone hold your hand who's been in the community for years, it can really just move you along so much faster. So that's what I want. I want people to use it, understand it quickly, and just kind of get rolling with it, not jump into it first, and then have to kind of reverse engineer how to use it. And then if they use it improperly or they lose their Bitcoins, and they blame the technology, not the fact that they didn't do their due diligence, they weren't educated when they came in. So again, what many of the top minds, investors in the world will say is, do not invest in what you don't understand. Whether it's Warren Buffett or Tai Lopez on YouTube, or you name the professional, you should really understand what you're investing in. And I've also created what's known as the Bitcoin University Starter Package. I've written 5 books on the subject of Bitcoin. So how Bitcoin changed the world, again, is basically a quick start guide, walks you through the history of Bitcoin, gives you a bunch of links to really get you started with your first wallet. Bitcoin Encyclopedia takes a lot of the articles I've written over the years and combines them into one volume, kind of a little bit more advanced look at Bitcoin. Invest Like a Pro, it's kind of more of a mentorship type of a pamphlet where I can walk you through and sit kind of down with you like I have with friends and family, and kind of give you some more ideas, again, on taxes and your mindset, what to expect from Bitcoin once you get started. Altcoin Buyer's Guide, if you've heard of Ethereum or Litecoin or XRP, this goes over some of the best altcoins, and 30 ways Bitcoin changes the future of money. So it's more than just an investment, it's more than just a digital currency, much more than that. And I've also created a separate website called bitcoincheatcodes.com, where basically I can kind of condense all of Bitcoin University into a 2-hour, 1-video tutorial. So I can take that in a Cliff Notes version and really condense it down, give you everything that you need, nothing you don't. And maybe you have a little ADHD yourself. You know, maybe you just want to get going quickly and easily. Maybe this can help you as well. And also you can check out the Bitcoin University app. You can go to Google Play or the App Store, and you can get some free information about Bitcoin there as well. So I created an app for you for your convenience. So in closing, Bitcoin is changing the world of economics, investing, and technology all at the same time. Bitcoin's been around for over 10 years. A lot of people don't know that. So we're going into the 2nd decade of Bitcoin. And I believe that everyone is here on this planet for a reason. And I feel this is why I am here on this planet. I was supposed to go to Wall Street. I was supposed to go to college for economics. And I'm supposed to have been in Bitcoin for 6 years. I'm supposed to create this platform to teach the world about the future of money. So I'm very grateful. When I look at Bitcoin, I look at a 10-year-old child. But this 10-year-old child is the Amadeus Mozart of 10-year-old children, of all the things that it has done and all the things it can produce for all of us, including blockchain technology. In 2017, over 3,000 people worldwide became millionaires just by investing in Bitcoin. So don't walk past your acres of diamonds. Discover how to get your digital diamonds today at Bitcoin University. So that concludes my presentation. Thank you so much for having me here. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer anything about the world of Bitcoin. Yes, sir.
Can you talk about the halving that's forthcoming?
The halvening, yes. Halvening is expected for May 17th of 2020. If you look at the chart of Bitcoin value over the years, after the halving, Bitcoin value tends to rise considerably. So what a halving is when the amount, production capacity of Bitcoins is cut in half. So right now we're at 12.5 Bitcoins every 10 minutes. That should go down to 6.25 Bitcoins every 10 minutes. So again, that'll be May of next year. So Bitcoin demand is basically doubling every year. And when you cut supply in half, but you double demand, what's going to happen to the price and value of Bitcoin? So I would hope that you would get involved before then. We also have some great mainstream investors like the Bakkt Corporation, which is Starbucks, Microsoft, and the New York Stock Exchange are creating a Bitcoin exchange that should launch in about 2 weeks. And it's for Bitcoin futures, it's for buying, selling, holding, trading, and you have to buy Bitcoins. So this will not be a dollar-based futures contract system, it will be a Bitcoin-based futures contract system. So this is for institutional investors, accredited investors. They will have to buy Bitcoins in order to enter these contracts. So this should have a tangible effect on the market, and I'm very bullish on the value of Bitcoin in the future. But Bitcoin, again, is a lot more than an investment, but a lot of people get started with an investment. As long as you get started, that's what's important. Yes, sir. Sorry, who wants to get going? Last question, please.
Last question. In your opinion, what's more important for the long-term viability of Bitcoin? As a store of value or ways of buying products on a daily basis?
Again, I don't think it's going to be used much for buying products. I think the value on that side will be more for storing information. But again, I think it's going to be used more as an investment. And if you compare it to gold, real estate, Forex, I don't think anything's going to be able to touch it as an investment because of its limited supply. There are less than 21 million Bitcoins are going to be available. This is hard-coded into the protocol. This cannot change. And again, demand for Bitcoin is doubling every year. And there's going to be a halving every 4 years. So the supply will keep reducing, but the demand will keep doubling. So it is literally like buying digital gold. All right. So thank you for your time. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. The founder of Bitcoin University, Evander Smart. Give him a big round of applause. I can see it now. One day, Bitcoin University football team. Except they'll be playing with Bitcoin. They won't be on the field. They'll be technologists. And so we know you have a lot of questions, so we've got a really cool way to get your Q&A done. If you want to log in to blackblockchainsummit.com and look for the app called Slido, S-L-I-D-O. The Slido app will allow you to send questions to all of the speakers, whether they're here or not, right? They can be at home or at work or what have you, and you'll be able to get your questions answered now or later. Again, so you log in to blackblockchainsummit.com, and then you can use the Wi-Fi here, which will allow you to access the website and look for Slido. Yeah, that's it. And then the speakers will be glad to answer your questions. All right. So now is for the fun part, I believe, of the summit, where we're going to have a roundtable discussion. And we're going to answer that question, 40 acres and a mule. It's a case study on land, reparations, and smart contracts. So let's just give our panel a big round of applause. You know who you are. They're coming up. They're going to do their thing. And again, take copious notes. Yeah, thank you. How you feel? All right, good. So we'll ask each of you to introduce yourselves. And remember to use Slido, and you can ask the questions. Good morning, how you feel?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Hope everyone is doing well today. My name is Larry Christopher Bates. I am the Chief Security Officer for Bitland Global, and today we're going to be talking about the 40 acres and a mule discussion, discussing reparations and the potential impacts and how they could actually be rolled out potentially using blockchain technology. And if you guys want to go ahead and introduce yourselves. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Gary Rockman. I am an owner of several different companies. Primarily, my background is real estate investing and development, DC and Baltimore. I've been now housing low to medium income families for the last 19 years. And I am a recently published author of a book by the name of Back from Hell and the Devil Didn't Win, How to Free Yourself from Poverty and Grow Generational Wealth.
How's everybody doing? I go by Fasa. We're doing some extraordinary things in a couple major cities regarding blockchain and incentivizing community engagement using smart contracts. Also using artificial intelligence as it pertains to blockchain technology as well. I just want to say, what good is 40 acres if we don't own the digital infrastructure that underwrites the value and how it's exchanged on that real estate? And that's an important thing I hope to be able to discuss here today with everybody.
Hey everyone, my name's Troy Foster. Come out here from Silicon Valley, where I practice law for emerging growth and startup companies. I do corporate securities work at a firm called Perkins Coie, and I've never been to Howard before, so I'm actually quite psyched to be here. It's really great to be with you all, and I look forward to discussing this topic.
Yeah, my name is Chris Mapondera. I'm co-founder of Bill Murray. I'm from Zimbabwe. I'm going to put an international context of what land is all about. When the white man came to Africa, the first thing he wanted was land because of all the resources that were in it. Now, coming from Zimbabwe, we are the only black country that was able to recover its land from the white people. And we've been suffering for that. I'm grateful to our late President Robert Mugabe, who was the beacon of light and brought consciousness about what control of your resources is all about. So I hope I'll be able to share with you how the land issue in our context is all about. Thank you.
So to kick off, I have a few questions that I'm going to pose to the panel about the potential of reparations and the repercussions. So if we're looking at other issues of reparations, we've seen the Holocaust, or even in the case of slave owners getting reparations for their slaves. We are many, many generations after this has happened. What is the amount that's going to be good enough for reparations?
Okay, well, we're starting with an easy question, so I appreciate that. So look, I'll take a crack at that, right? I'm going to come at it from a little bit of an orthogonal angle, though. I think it's okay when you sort of think about how blockchain could help, sort of answer this question. What I think about is, kind of blockchain as a part of a technological solution that can help with the basic principle of fairness that underlies the notion of reparations, right? And so I think rather than a specific amount that sort of ties per person, that it would be more of a fluid kind of solution, that where you combine something like a sort of 23andMe or some of the other kind of DNA testing, along with maybe an algorithmic analysis of how the people's sort of have suffered the impact of kind of unfair policies. I mean, beyond slavery, right? Jim Crow, redlining, all these other sort of injustices, and kind of in the ideal world, right, come up with a score that then ties back to some sort of make good or reparation for that, historical injustice.
I actually will try to answer it this way. There's a lot of talk right now of what that number can be. We have some politicians saying somewhere in the billions. We have others saying, somewhere around $17 trillion. We actually, I think that there is a way to kind of figure all that out just from, I'm sure there's a mathematical equation we could do that could figure it all out, right? As it pertains to land and just all the contributions. But from just a study of like a lot of things that have already been promised, from a 40 acres and a mule even, we know that, that was even in its time a bad check, right? A check that was insufficient at its time. And to be honest, so many people don't even realize how many whites actually benefited from that piece. But it was just a promise, and it was a promise that wasn't kept, right? And we understand, too, that in the District of Columbia being a fine example of somebody who's in real estate, but understanding at the same time that when we talk about even property, right, which is, property and contracts, that those things oftentimes, right, depending on the color of your skin and colonialism, can still be taken away. Right? So we know that. We've seen it systematically happen right here in the District of Columbia. People who bought homes for little or nothing, their values went up, they couldn't pay the property taxes, and the government, right, basically seized their property, right? And it's the same thing when we think about 40 acres and a mule. It was the government, right, who was really actually enforcing the repossession of the farms that blacks had owned in the late 1800s. So, one of the things, my children, my wife and I have two children, a 10 and an 11-year-old, and I actually used to be a financial advisor and have taught them. I started teaching them how to paper trade when I think my daughter was 7, my son was about 8 or 9. They're about 17 months apart. And since then, they've started their own company, StockUpKids.com, or StockUp Kids. They have a YouTube channel. And they go around the country speaking, teaching others how to trade stock. One of the main things that they share, and this is kind of going to be the same with Bitcoin, but one of the main things they share, because we talk to a lot of kids who are brown and black and in impoverished neighborhoods, there's some things that we share that my children actually share with that audience, is that trading, similar to Bitcoin, is colorblind, right? You can have an account and nobody knows who you are, what gender you are, or anything else. And it's a place in which oftentimes we've either avoided or we have not had enough knowledge of, right, to engage in on a level in which we could really prosper. I share a lot as well with people, even when it comes to real estate, is that we, I think, as African Americans or black people in general, because of the struggles we've had in this country, really oftentimes want to lay claim by saying we're the owner, right, of whatever it is. We want to put our stake in the ground and say, this is ours. And the wealthiest people in this nation, actually, we don't know what they own. They don't put their stake in the ground, but they own so much because they control it. And so one of the things that I share with people is understanding land trusts, understanding personal property trust. These are things that even when we talk about Bitcoin that can be combined so that it's not necessarily something that someone can directly connect you with, but that you can control and grow generational wealth. So, I'm trying to answer that in a way that I share with a lot of people. We are the magic, right? We are the magic, and the solution is us. Everywhere we go. I love Zimbabwe and how they've handled things. I love Haiti, right? But we also sometimes really forget about Haiti, right? But it is that power of knowing how powerful we are and knowing that if we collectively put our minds and resources together, we can change the outcome and we don't have to continue to wait on a check that may become insufficient at the time that we receive it.
Those are great points, and actually lead into the next question. So let's assume hypothetically that we do get reparations at some point. How do we implement technology to prevent the reparations from being spoiled for the next generations and make sure that the future generations benefit from it?
I would say that there's a lot of mechanisms that have been put in place to exploit and marginalize ideas that come from the communities of African descendants. I would say that out of our necessity and because of a wealth gap that's no mystery, we're in a position where we take our greatest ideas and we have to participate in diversity and inclusion initiatives, pitch contests, and different things that don't necessarily protect our intellectual property or intellectual capital. I think that in terms of not gentrification, but more so reparations, that we could create our own. I feel that if we were allowed to own our own ideas and allowed to control the digital infrastructure that allows for value to be exchanged within our own ideas, that we would be able to accumulate wealth in our communities and not have to worry about the dollar cycling in the communities of African descendants 6 hours as opposed to our privileged counterparts that the dollar circulates 20, 30 times before it leaves the community. So I'm not sure how other people feel about that approach, but I think it's important for us to do a lot of this on our own. I feel like the ingenuity and the skill and capability is there, but we need to make sure that we learn how to work together first so that we can actually extract the value that's already on the table. If we get a check for reparations, like the brother said, that thing might be obsolete in a couple of years, and what's that going to do for us? We'll just be a part of the cycle again.
If I can, I'd just like to tag on something he said. Someone said earlier that us not understanding what actual money is, right? And just touching on that, right? I often go into a lot of crowds, and we have actually so much wealth that we really walk over those diamonds, right? We walk over them all the time. And again, it goes back to working collectively. So, you know, there was a time where you could trade a mule for a cow, right? Realistically, and that was your currency, that was your money. And there are still places in the world that that's how things are done. You know, there was a time during Jim Crow where we did a lot of exchanging with each other in that form. So, again, it's not necessarily something that folds, you know, or something that shakes, or, you know, has a you know, not coins necessarily, but we have to, find the value, in each other. You know, I'm sure, you know, we talk about Silicon Valley. So many of those companies are using intellectual capital in order to blow up and become billion-dollar corporations. You know, but again, I'm sure there are so many brilliant people in our circles, and instead we are again kind of only looking at wealth and value in one way, and it's through what, you know, the bank account, versus all of these other things that hold extreme value that we can exchange for and build with. So, you know, again, 40 acres and a mule, or whatever the case may be, I think we really need to think more collectively and creatively as it pertains to this.
So that's a great point and a great segue into the next question. Who is the we in collectively? When we're talking about the American descendants of slaves, where do we draw the line as to where the we is? And then if we're talking about actual reparations, where somebody said something about a 23andMe test, what percent do you have to be to get reparations? Do we stop with only Americans, or do we continue to spread it across the African continent? What do you guys think?
When we put in the context of the African continent, there's people that have a lot of money to pay. Because we have to claim for the more than 5 million people who were forcibly brought here that's a lot of money. Nobody can actually have enough money to pay for that. And the opportunities that Africa lost with the transfer of intellectual wealth the 5 million people had. So I would want to turn this around, that obviously from an African perspective, I may not look at the 40 acres and a mule, but I may look at it in the overall, how much land do we control as an African people? Africa is 5 times the size of the United States. It has got probably the monopoly of all the minerals that you can think of. We are still discovering oil in Africa. 3 weeks ago, nobody would have thought of Kenya as an oil exporting country. Angola, West Africa. So when you look at what those resources, what the 5 million people who were brought here could have done to exploit that. There's so much that the black people in this country have contributed to the development of this economy, which is not acknowledged. Now, if we want to put a dollar value to that, I don't think it will even make any sense at all. We have to find another way of how to define the replacement of what we lost. Then secondly, just to bring in the blockchain technology per se, it's a tool that is now beginning to get traction in Africa, in the sense that we have got so much of land distribution. If you want to come and buy land in Africa today, you should have a way in which you can be able to trace how that land has moved from one person to the other and so forth, and how you are utilizing and so forth. So I think that would be a good tool that as we encourage you to come and invest in Africa, you can sit here in Washington, D.C. and be able to trace what is happening with your assets and so forth.
Yeah, so I mean, I think about that question from a more just from a practical standpoint, right? Like as a lawyer, so I don't have a good grasp of the policy, right? I mean, I don't really. There's a lot to that, right? That smarter people than me can unpack. But if you kind of go back to the I think it was Special Field Order 15, right? I mean, the kind of the fundamental failure of that came out of it being a kind of a military order, right, in those regions that didn't necessarily have political support. Mm-hmm. So I think when I think about how you make good on that promise, I think it's gotta, there's gotta be sort of like a political groundswell to make it happen, and maybe it dovetails a little bit with this notion of universal basic income that is like a very popular political sort of trend right now, where you kind of marry these and figure out a way to kind of implement it, in conjunction with something like that.
On those notes, the point earlier was made that there are plenty of black wealthy people, and we have wealth in our communities that could effectively be our own form of reparations. If black people are to execute reparations for ourselves, how would that work? Or in the case of, as you're saying, we have the capital, it's just not collective. How do we get to that point where we're creating our own reparations?
Well, I would say that you can't do anything without people, and none of this technology matters without people. And we have a lot of people, and we spend more money than all other people. So, if we just had even our own black PayPal, some of the things that we could do in terms of reparations by incentivizing healthier behavior in our community using smart contracts would be significant. I just think that it would be a matter of sitting down with the individuals at summits like this. I think this is one of the most important things that happens every year. I would never miss it. because you've got people that are all engaged in how technology's converged on our community and how can we use it to move us forward. I just think we need to be careful about how we align ourselves with, I'll give you an example. My company, we've just partnered with probably the most advanced and most robust artificial intelligence platform using blockchain on the planet. They're from another community, so how do you go about a relationship like that? If we're going to have diversity and inclusion, it needs to be on our own terms, and we need to make sure that the infrastructure that's being built, okay, you have this artificial intelligence program, and instead of us having to have a duplication of effort, we've also built a platform, not an app, something that, you know, the market cap is $5 million. I'm talking about another platform that will also generate jobs and opportunities and economically insulate our businesses, maybe using the data through community-based participatory research to validate the different ideas that come out of our community. I think that's a big thing, is we have to protect our ideas. And if we protect our ideas and we create economically insulated Black-owned businesses or businesses owned by African descendants, then we can make sure that brothers and sisters that come out of prison and have that one strike on their record and can't find a meaningful job where they can have a livable wage, hey, you got a job waiting for you. We could start the training while you're, I mean, there's a lot of things we could do where reparations doesn't have to be cutting somebody a check. Reparations can be, reparations is something, I mean, we're creative, we'll figure it out. I mean, there's a lot of things, I've got some great things written down, but I'm sure a lot of people here have some incredible things that are written down. But I see reparations as something that is complex and something that it won't all be flushed out in 1 year. I think as we build and we grow and we think about what our children need, we think about protecting our elders, we start bringing the family unit together and putting reparations around healthy decision-making in our community. Man, money oscillates around opportunities like that. That's my thoughts.
I think that was a brilliant point, brother. I'd like to add that there's something about you know, my wife and I, we talk, again, we have 2 young children. I always tell her, you know, main thing is to model and teach, right? We always, a lot of times, you know, we preach or we talk about different things that we should be doing, even as a people. But sometimes I really I'm an observer of people, and oftentimes we're not modeling the behavior in which we actually want to see. So there's a piece that when people come in our home and they want to talk politics or whatever, I kind of hit them at the door on, they got to really be doing these 3 things, at least, to have a real discussion. One is banking Black, right? The other is buying at least 50% of getting 50% of their services and goods from someone that looks like them as well. So, and then lastly, to actually be supporting Black causes. And I say Black cause, I'll give you a little bit of a breakdown, is that we have a lot of these celebrities and whatnot, they'll support things like St. Jude. St. Jude's a great organization. I'm not knocking St. Jude. But sickle cell is a bigger issue for us, right? So, you know, so it's these types of things that I'm speaking to, right? And so if basically, again, it's about modeling and teaching, and each of us can start there, coming out the gate, right? Each of us. You know, so we have, you know, people say, well, you know, I tried a Black bank with this, that, the other. But I always share, again, historically, right? The Black bank was the only bank that we could one time go to. They were the only ones to give us a loan or a business opportunity or anything else. But we've kind of abandoned our institutions. Oftentimes, it's the same thing when it comes to HBCUs. You know, we have Black folk who graduate from historically Black colleges. I got friends, right? And they send their kids off to what they call the Ivy Leagues. Well, I'm thinking that, you know, Howard and Hampton and Tuskegee and Morehouse and Spelman are our own Ivy Leagues, and they produce some incredible people. And, you know, so we, again, have to start to reinvest in ourselves. We have to see ourselves as the magic that we are. And as he said, really protecting our ideas and our value. Right? Because we will quickly sign over our ideas for Food's Gold. And so again, knowing our value, our worth, and what it can do effectively in our communities, I think is a big part, a big step in what each of us can actually contribute to our own reparations. And again, you know, and I'll kind of end on this point of this, right? I don't really care who the hell the president is. because since we've had presidents, black people, the policies for us have always been the same, no matter who the president was. So we have to, again, we've been voting for, what is it now, 53, 54 years? And our standing in the country, whether it be home ownership, whether it be business owners, whether it be whatever we want to call it, the main categories, education, have either remained the same or they've declined, right, since we've been voting. And there's, and to kind of just share a little bit more with that, is that these are statistics you guys can even look up for yourselves. But we've often said, black people don't vote. Well, that is actually not true. In this country, about 60% of all people vote. And of that, we're typically only a couple of percentage points beneath whites when it comes to that. So if they're voting at 60%, we're like at 58, 59, and some elections we're even over. So again, not discouraging people to vote, but my point is, again, that there are more important ways, I think, in pooling our resources, seeing value in ourselves collectively that can move us ahead a lot faster. And the last piece on that is we then have to be able to protect ourselves. So we talk about 40 acres and a mule. One of the things that the government did was take away their arms. When it comes to this whole idea of gun control, the only time we hear about it is when little white kids get shot up at white schools. But I was born in Chicago, born and raised in Chicago. I lived in D.C., and I live in Baltimore currently. 3 places that have some of the strictest gun laws on the books. And guess how many, Russian rifles and whatnot you can find on those streets. So we're not, again, bringing them in, but that conversation is not had. And until, again, it's one in which we're leading the conversation, and we're talking about how it affects us. It's not a conversation I'm even willing to have. But again, in order to protect ourselves, we have to not drink the Kool-Aid and thinking that these things aren't important to move us ahead. To protect ourselves and our interests, we must be able to have things that do so.
I want to thank everybody for their contributions to this panel. This was fantastic. Everybody give them a round of applause. Thank you, fellas, very much.
Any question? We have a question on Slido for the panelists. Yeah. So if you have any question, go to Slido.
With all complete, utter love, honor, and respect, why is there no female here? And why am I the only one here answering? Seriously.
I mean, I'm sure there'll be the next few. There'll probably be an all-female panel at some point, too, probably.
The ambassador is coming. The ambassador is giving a keynote right after this.
Yeah, the keynote was a woman.
We have a keynote with the ambassador.
The keynote was a woman.
Yeah, we have an.
The most important speaker here was a woman.
So we have a question from Jomari.
The panel has been very good. No question. It's just that.
My mother's here in spirit.
I think you're right. You're right, sister. So I think we'll do better next time. Thank you.
Yeah, no doubt.
We have one question for you guys from Jamari. The question is, would love thoughts on how opportunity zones and blockchain-related technology can be merged to meet the goals of Black Americans.
Well, about opportunity zones. So opportunity zones are good for investment in that they open up opportunities for allowing protections on investments in ways that give more security to the investor, so that you know that you're going to put your money into something good, but you're also going to get the money out of it. So I think that's where investors Very few, well, not very few. Angel investors are the ones that are in it for the cause, whereas most investors are in it for the money. But if you can get in a place where, like an opportunity zone, where you can build up a community and also make money, this is where investment becomes a really beneficial means of building up communities while also giving somebody profit.
Yeah, this is a subject matter in which I'm very well versed, but I'd like to give a little history, though, before we start with that, is that we think about opportunity zones, right? New buzzwords sound really great, right? Once called ghettos, now they're opportunity zones. So who coined the phrase, right? So all narratives take life, right? So we have to be careful about those narratives. But nevertheless, opportunity zones can still, I think, there's a thing where we need to be first. We need to kind of really, when it comes to a lot of this, right? We're at Bitcoin, we need to be first. We need to start really thinking about it from that standpoint. Opportunity zones will only benefit us if we're thinking from a collective standpoint of serving the people, and we are first, right? So, we know that it's often harder, or we believe it's harder, because those who actually are going to be funders of opportunity zones are having to use capital gains. I'm not sure how, and that's probably a question when we talk about the Bitcoin and its capital gains, but how that is addressed and how maybe that can actually be utilized, again, as a resource to be an investor in opportunity zones, because not everyone, you can't use just normal capital. It has to be capital from gains from some asset, whether it's stock or a sale of a property or growth in a business or whatever the case may be. Yes, but we have to be first.
Opportunity zones and other macro level initiatives like I'm not sure if y'all are familiar with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. A lot of great stuff that is out there, but it doesn't necessarily speak to what's happening on the ground floor in our communities, the people that actually live there. What a lot of people don't know is all the opportunity zones are actually food deserts, which is a funny thing. And so there's something that they say either give a man a fish or teach a man to fish. And most other communities say teach a man to fish. But if somebody's hungry, how are they going to learn to eat? It's just one of those things where it becomes an issue. I think it's really important that, like the brother said, that we find and get out in front of these initiatives that are meant to help us and find out how are we able to tweak or finesse this to be able to work in our favor. Because currently, I see opportunity zones as gentrification, being honest with you. It's gentrification, both physically and digitally. It's the type of thing where if we don't create some form of standardization to measure the type of impact that it's actually going to have in our communities and what the impetus is for change in our community, and then hold them to that, then we might find ourselves needing 40 acres a lot sooner than what we thought.
Yeah, so just practically speaking, I think a lot of that's just spot on. What I see when people are talking about, the zones is there's not any intrinsic value to the zones from the investor standpoint, and they would just as soon invest in, soybeans if you're going to get a subsidy there, or some other sort of tax benefit, right? There's not enough sort of social good and maybe PR around that really is that makes it kind of powerful. And I think that is the thing that would make it sort of a unique and more powerful tool.
Yeah, I agree, and that's why I think we have to be first. And if we're not first and we're not thinking collectively, then exactly it is gentrification as well.
Yeah. No, if we're investing in it, right, and there's a groundswell and people, there's a tension around it, then it becomes something that is unique and powerful, right? It's different from a subsidized investment. generates, for lack of a better word, good feelings around kind of getting involved in it, right? As opposed to just the naked financial return that you look at compared to other investment opportunities.
I'm sorry, I didn't go through SIGO, but are you aware of anybody who has put forth a sustainable plan for economic sovereignty as it relates to the very subjects you're talking about?
I have.
Could you share it with us?
I'm not sure if this is the venue, but I would definitely say that in terms of all these different factors, we need an ecosystem. We need an ecosystem. We don't need an app. We don't need just money. We need people to come together in a way that allows for our best and brightest to have a pipeline that they can build into so that they don't have to, as of right now, our best and brightest engineers, there's not enough jobs in our community because we don't have a black tech company. There's no black Microsoft. So I have to hope that the diversity inclusion initiative over at Twitter, where they have to hire 1% to 2% people, that in the other groups of people don't take the LGBT community. There's just a lot of things that are happening to stop us from being able to move ourselves forward. In terms of an initiative that would move us forward, we're working with the city of Pittsburgh. We're looking at some things here in DC as well to be able to say, if you're going to participate, if you're going to work with our community, these are the standards in which you have to be able to do that. And we have some very large partners in what we're doing. But at the same time, we're not shy. We're very intentional about the fact that this many jobs are going to be created in our community. This many opportunities, this much money needs to be given out to it. If we don't make those stipulations, then, they're laughing at us. So I'm sorry? And I would just say that
We were just saying, if you don't mind, we were just saying that you need to follow the example that Aaron Barry gave to us back in the day. He insisted that you hire black contractors. He insisted
Yes.
that you had jobs. And all of that
Yeah.
has changed a bit, too much. So we just suggesting that you follow the same program that he had back in the day.
Yeah.
It worked.
Yeah, Dr. Claude Anderson has some good things as well, and with our platform, we believe that in over 10 years we can create 50,000 economically insulated black-owned businesses and 12.5 million jobs over the next 10 years. So,
I would vote for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously we could go on for hours and hours. Let's have a big hand for the dream team, ladies and gentlemen. Chris Bates, Gary Rahman, Tony Foster, PJ, and Christopher Mapandera. Give them another big round of applause for all of that knowledge, all that wealth. God bless you, brother. Yes. Okay, so we'll have a break in a little while, but first, it's time for an empowering black community and how to use blockchain. So let's have a big hand for our keynote speaker, Deidre McIntyre. Give her a nice round of applause as she comes up. Hey, how you doing?
Bear with us for just about a minute as we set up, but I wanted to echo what PJ Foster just said. We need an ecosystem, we need an ecosystem, we need an ecosystem. That should echo throughout your thoughts as we give our presentation, because a part of our presentation is about that plan for an ecosystem. So we'll definitely search for him in the hallway and connect with him later, but give us 1 second. While we're setting up, we put a link in the Slido. If you can see Slido, or if you're using the Hova app, actually the Hova app probably has the wrong link, but if you're using the Slido, the last link I shared that says something about gameplay link, new gameplay link, we're gonna have an activity. I was a teacher, so we're gonna have some fun here today. and you guys are all going to volunteer. So I just want to set up first. Oops. Sorry about that. Okay, so I see we got one student already in there. My name is Deidre McIntyre, and I'm joined here today with Ryan Cooper. We're from Black People and Cryptocurrency. Some of you may be familiar, some of you may not be familiar. Black People and Cryptocurrency is a Facebook discussion group launched in September 5th of 2017, so we're 2 years old. We have 9,600 plus people that are members of the discussion group. And it was essentially launched to provide education for people who are interested in Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and blockchain. What has progressed in the last 2 years, though, have been, my original career path was as a journalist. So I was really concentrating on Black-led startup founders because I realized they were absent from the dialogue in terms of the majority of coverage in some of the cryptocurrency publications, as well as any of your mainstream publications, Black Enterprise or whatever. It's almost as if we're invisible. Now, I'm not new to technology, so to speak, although I started my career as a journalist. Quickly after I started my career, I was working with a technology company as an educational software producer, and I was introduced to the internet by way of gateways through CompuServe and AOL in order to pick up packets of what was not soon to be called open source software, but basically they knew that university students were creating software that would help corporations that they could grab for free to kind of bridge the gaps between whatever they were developing. So from that little bug, I eventually ended up working for one of the earliest social media.coms called theglobe.com. I was executive producer and eventually production manager from theglobe.com from about 1998 to 99. I'm sorry, 97 to 99. Most of you may not have heard of theglobe.com, but you've heard of Facebook. Facebook is actually the last social media and last one standing. Before Facebook was MySpace, before MySpace was Black Planet and the Community Connect publications, and before that was theglobe.com and GeoCities. So that's the kind of line that we were coming out of. And before us was basically AOL and CompuServe, those closed houses. So to kind of give you the legacy of how quickly things changed to what we are now, Facebook kind of gives a kind of a misrepresentation when you see the movie Social Media, because if you're introduced to social media, you think that those two founders kind of created something that had no basis before it, but it had a long history before it, and they're just basically the last person standing. So to fast forward to today, I took some time out after I left the .com world and became a high school teacher, a master's degree in education, and then I've kind of merged all these skills, the communication, the information about technology, into blockchain to launch Black People in Cryptocurrency, which was really to get the information out there so that people were not taken advantage of in ICO scams or MLM scams and thinking that they had to pay $100. At the time we entered, BitConnect was very popular. So I was getting pitched by even my parents or my friends about, you just pay $100 a month. And I was like, that's not how that works. You can buy $5 worth of Bitcoin if you want to, and you can do it yourself. So I got tired of the individualized conversations, and we launched this group. And now we're moving in different directions. Now I met Ryan Cooper a year ago. I'm gonna let him introduce himself and talk a little bit more about what we're doing.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ryan Cooper. I am a media technician at Bowie State University. I also am a host and founding member of the Bowie State University Blockchain Association. We're going to have monthly meetings with students. We're going to also work with other HBCUs as well as Howard University They have the blockchain lab here at Howard University, so we're going to try to work in tandem. But that's a little bit of my background. I'm also a professional musician, keyboard player, and I'm very influenced by the blockchain technology.
So a little bit, we're gonna have to have a little bit more classroom participation. So if those of you take the time out of like about a minute or so now, if you can check the Slido. If you don't know how to get to Slido, go to the Black Blockchain Summit webpage, and you know the 3 bars that give you the navigation. Click that. All the way at the bottom is Slido. It's just going to take you to a web page where you can see a whole bunch of comments, and you'll see one of the comments I made was new gameplay link, because the first link shortener didn't work. No, don't. Yeah, leave it right there because it helps me to. They're going to be able to see the gameplay once we get started. So if you want to volunteer for that, I can see the students that are being added. For those of you who may be in education or have friends in education and not familiar with quizzes, it's not an older site. It's not a site that existed while I was teaching high school, but there are a number of platforms that teachers can use and have games and quizzes and things like that. And so it's pretty much a free platform for teachers. So we created a little game for us to participate in, because I don't like standing up and giving slide presentation and talking. I like to have a dialogue. How many people here are completely new to blockchain and cryptocurrency by a show of hands? Like, I don't really know what's going on. Like about 6 or 7 people. Who in here can name a startup founder of any type of cryptocurrency? And who is he a founder of? Ethereum. How many founders of Ethereum are there? It's like 5, right? So it's about 5. About 5, but close enough. Anybody can name anybody else? A startup founder in blockchain, you said? Charlie Lee. And who do you find? What do you find? Litecoin. So Ethereum, for those of you who are new, and you've only heard of Bitcoin, there are something like at least 2,600 plus cryptocurrencies. That's according to CoinMarketCap. But there's more than that, because it's not covering the Dash fork coins and masternodes, and there's other people that aren't listed. So it's for argument's sake, with 2,600 cryptocurrencies that you may not have heard of. Not all of them are used as currency. Some of them are used as tokens. Can anybody name anyone else? We had 2 people.
I say Mr. or Mrs. Satoshi.
Satoshi Nakamoto. What's significant about Satoshi Nakamoto?
Well, he was the.
He or she, it, they, them, Hal Finney, whatever. Right. So the Bitcoin movement was started by, from what we know, a collective known as the cypherpunks. It's at least one person or several persons. We know that the initial person talking back and forth with Satoshi Nakamoto was a man named Hal Finney, and essentially the two of them were talking to each other. So some people speculate that Hal Finney was Satoshi Nakamoto. Others say it's a conglomerate because the white paper adopts previous white papers from different people, from Szabo and others, and kind of put a hodgepodge of things together. So it definitely was a conversation that was had publicly and conversations that were had privately that developed into that, what we now know as the Bitcoin white paper. So we kind of added an advantage to say that we can't specifically say without a doubt who Satoshi Nakamoto is, and this is the reason why those of you are wearing shirts called Satoshi is Black, because globally everyone is Satoshi. It's open source software. You can build on that platform. You can build your businesses, build your organizations, different types of organizational structures called DAOs. You can do a number of things, and it's for everyone to use. So Satoshi is you, basically. So what we're going to try to do is, I'm going to see have you had success going in, because we can get started with who is there.
Is there event code on the website that's asking for
the Wova app?
Don't use the Wova app. Did you use Slido to get the link? that are in the class already. Jamari, did you get a game code thing when you did yours? No way, yes, Jamari is. Fred, did you get a game code?
No,
You just got it to say, and just registered with Google or whatever, right?
I think if you log in via your Google.
Yeah, if you log into your
But if you
Google,
say
it'll
no
come right
banking, then you got to.
Okay. If you're not, if you didn't log in with Google, it won't let you do it. Let's see if I can work it without the class and do the game code. See, the classes thing they made was new within like the last 2 weeks, and I wasn't sure if I can generate the game code, but let's see if I can do that instead. Hold on. You're still gonna have to go to the site. Hold on. Let's do live game. All right, let me set it up and I'll see if I can reveal the game code. It's a bit easier. Hold on 1 second. So those of you who did the class, don't worry about it. We're gonna try to do the live game this way. Host game, not classic?
Yeah, close game.
Okay, yeah. Okay. That's the code. We'll do it that way. I tried to do it the class using the new feature they have. Probably wasn't a good idea. Hey, Jamari.
I'm in.
Jamari's in. Oh, this was a lot faster. This should be fun. We'll see who's the beast of the blockchain with this. Some of you are a little bit more seasoned. Some of you are not.
So what are you doing, signing up with Google?
No, you're going to this link, join.quizzes.com, and you're putting in the game code 781518. It's a new. I'm changing how you join the game because it's proving to be a lot easier. We got 7 people already. Take a few minutes.
Where Van Zandt thinks
Going to
when
this
you're
link,
going down.
join.quizzes.com. It's gonna play. And we'll see who's good. 9 people. Interesting. And you guys have figured out you can put any name that you wanted. I see the Ethiop. As long as you know who you are, it's perfectly fine. We'll give it another minute. We got 13 people. Friend, hi Mike. Hey Todd. Diamond. Somebody heard the lecture this morning from Evander Smart. Ryan is himself. I'm not playing, it would be cheating. Okay, is everybody in wants to be in? Nope. All right, hold on. Okay. It's multiple guests, so if you don't even know, it should be easy, right? Multiple choice questions are easy, right? Aren't they easy? She's the fix is in, right? Don't press start. Okay. Yeah. That's fine. 20 people, 21, 22. Is everybody in who wants to be in? Going once? Going twice? Am I waiting for anybody? All right. The URL that's up there, join.quizzes.com, go to that website, and then it'll say what's the game code, and you put your game code, you can pick any name that you want to identify yourself, and then, because when I hit start, everybody's going to be playing at the same time. What you're going to see here are going to be who's in the lead You have 20 seconds to answer every question. There are 25 questions. $24. Can we get a 25? Going once. Oh, he's coming. He's coming. 25 is coming. Oh, we got prizes. We got prize. The best prize out there. Trust. Wait, who's Donnelly? Who's Donnelly? Hey, real life person. He's in my group. I was like, I know that name. Trek. One more person. We're gonna hit the 30. You know I only have like 20 minutes up here, right? The game is only gonna take 5 minutes because you only got 20 seconds to answer the questions anyway, whether you know it or not. You gotta think fast. We're gonna see how well you know yourself. All right, that's 30. We're going. Ready? Set. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Let's go.
Go. Play. Fred, number 1. Yep, Jamari. Ooh, lots of greens. That's good. %39 accuracy. That's kind of like Trek. All right. %44 accuracy. Fred is killing it. Jamari, what happened?
Yo, that one.
Trek. Slipping. Come on, Ethiopia, where you going? Stay on the board. I see some reds. Mike got all green though. Well, it looks like everybody's got red at this point. 44% accuracy? Don't win this game.
I'm trying not to.
He's seen it before. I'm like, what you doing? Go ahead, Chris. Up, Ryan. Evelyn. Come on, Evelyn. Ethiopia's back in the mix. Mike, hanging in there. Stop it. Stop winning. Fred. Who is Fred? Fred keep going to number 1. Hey, David. Go, Mac. I like Mac because my name is McIntyre. Let's go, Mac. Jamari, Chris, Fred, Mike. Friend, come on, friend. Donnelly. These accuracy numbers, though. 47%. David. Stop it. Chris. If you win, they're going to know the fix is in, so stop and get some wrong answers. Chris. Uh-oh, Jamari, you're slipping. Come on, Chris. Come on, Chris. Jamari just passed you.
Coming for you.
Come on. Come on, Chris. Let's go, let's go, let's go. 48% accuracy. Oh, my goodness. Come on, Fred. Uh-oh, Jamari's playing to win. Come on, Ethiopia. Keep choosing incorrect. You can't win, okay? Stop. He's one of my testers, so he knows all the questions. He cannot win. Jamari's hanging in there. Come on, Fred, what happened? Chris, come on, Chris. Not that I'm rooting against you, Jamari, but you know. 47% accuracy. That does not look good. 258 wrong answers to 235 correct answers. Jamari's trying to play to win. Who's going to knock him out? Not you. Stop cheating. Just get the rest of them wrong, okay? Because you're just messing things up. Come on, come on. Who wants it bad enough? Dig in. Dig in. Come on, Chris. Come on. Focus. Use the force. Donnelly's coming back up. Come on, come on. .46% accuracy. Time's almost up, whether you answer the question or not. Jamari's finished. Anybody can knock him out? Come on, Ethiopia. It's like Chris is finished. Donnelly is finished. A couple more people. .46% accuracy. Come on. I thought you guys knew blockchain. So hard. Much harder than what you thought it was going to be. Almost finished. Ethiopia, David. I don't know who else is. I can't see you. Scroll down. It's okay.
Oh no, Fred. Where you going?
Trek is like, I'm still in it. I'm still in it. Let's see. Mike is still playing. Sankofa, did you stop? You still going? Come on, Sankofa, bring it up. Gold. What happened with gold? Diamond. Gotta keep going. It's multiple choice. There's a correct answer in every slot. Look at all that red compared to that green. I know the background is black, but come on. You should have seen some more green. 46% accuracy. It's almost done. Some of you weren't taking the full 20 seconds. That's okay. Mike and Sankofa. Ethiopia's still in it. Yeah, I should have mentioned that the faster you answer the question, the more, if it's right, you actually get more points. It's kind of weighted with speed and accuracy. So slower, you might be getting more right answers, but it's considered it too slow. Almost finished. Gold. Newbie. Newbie's doing not bad for newbie. Diamond. Newbie. Jamari feeling comfortable. Who's Ethiopia? Did really well. you and Chris. Oh, Chris and Donnelly are tied. Okay. So those of you who are finishing up, continue to finish up. Those of you who have finished, what was your experience with this test, with this assessment? I have a follow-up question to that. Do you think any of those answers would have been on some LinkedIn blogs? What was interesting about those questions that I was asking you? Trek? Sorry. Bit, Did you recognize any of those names? We had a conversation when we first started where we talked about the different founders. Did you recognize any of those names? I mean, aside from some people saw their own name.
So they weren't the bigger names in the space right now. They were more of the, if you're in the know in regards to if you're in a Facebook group, if you know you chat to somebody like Jamar, like if you were on that level, you had an idea of X amount of the names. But if you're just talking about who's in the bigger narrative of the space, those weren't the names necessarily you saw.
Okay, so the names we saw, to repeat what Trek said, the names that we saw on this assessment were not, quote unquote, the major players, not the well-known names. But the thing that I was trying to key on, anybody kind of key into what is special about those names, even the wrong answers? What do they have in common? I'm sorry, I can't hear you. And what do you mean by that? So they were all black. So we're at the Black Blockchain Summit with at least 23 of the 25 questions. It might have been, I think there's only 2 because there's only one that asked something general about running Bitcoin. The answer would have been Hal Finney, and there was like one other general kind of question. But out of 23 questions out of 25 that had black people, black startup founders as the correct answer, and as all the wrong answers were additional black founders, and we're at a conference and you don't even know who you are. So the point of black people in cryptocurrency, of course, is to talk about Ethereum. Of course, is to talk about Bitcoin Core. But we're a finger on this blockchain body. If we're sick, if we're broken, it affects the entire body. So when PJ Foster had mentioned we need to create an ecosystem, that's something that black people in cryptocurrency is working on, creating an ecosystem by linking and encouraging HBCUs to start student-run blockchain labs. We just recently formed a partnership with an accelerator called Mousebelt. Their university component is called Mousebelt University. Now, Mousebelt as an accelerator is a combination. They support blockchain labs, and some of the blockchain labs you've heard of, MIT, UCLA, Stanford, they're all they have 67 blockchain labs. There is not one, including Howard, there's not one black lab in there, and it's our fault. They made me 2 weeks ago, give or take 2 weeks ago, ambassador. Do you know how difficult it's been to just even tell Howard University, sign up, it's free? Go in there and get the information. They have money, I don't have money. Even though I want to start an accelerator, I don't have it, they have it. The person that is the university component, I was introduced by the person who won this quiz, Jamari Peterson, who met her at a conference. Jamari had already known that black blockchain, black people in cryptocurrency has a plan of creating an accelerator that links HBCUs with black startup founders. What we're doing, we're well aware, it already exists at Stanford, at MIT. There are people that don't hit a pitch deck stage ever. They are getting their alumni associations to invest in startups and incubating sometimes up to 5 years. And it's not chump change. The most heavily funded startup is Filecoin. Filecoin hasn't launched yet. Filecoin has $257 million. Filecoin's founder is a guy named Juan Bennett. I don't know what his ethnic ancestry is. By all appearances, he's white, but he's coming out of that network. Juan breaks every startup mold that you can imagine. So where they, at one hand, will tell black founders, you need to have one idea. You need to focus on that. You need to stay with that. You have to have all your eggs in order. You have to have your CTO. You have to have this. Juan has 4 companies. He's 31, 32 years old. Filecoin is one. Filecoin alone has $257 million. Filecoin is a copy of Sean Wilkinson out of Morehouse University storage. We are not incubating our own. We don't even know our own. This is the second year of Black Blockchain Summit. So, we're hoping moving forward that people will become aware of what we're trying to do, help us to connect with HBCUs to take advantage of what's freely available. Jamari Peterson introduced me to Ashley Meredith, who's the university head for Mousebelt. They have money. They have $40 million. They're doing the exact same thing that's in our plan, which we'll share with you later, the exact same thing. And when Jamari sent me the link maybe 3 weeks ago, my heart sank. Because I was like, this is exactly what we want to do. And literally my heart sank for about 30 minutes. And I said, Jamari, introduce me. Why am I blocking you from the money that's available? But what's blocking us from getting and using the resources? So Ashley has 10 ambassadors of Mousebelt University, brand new this year. They started last year, so they're going into their second year. This is the first year of the ambassador program. Everyone that's an ambassador represents a different part of the world. There's actually a sister who's an advisor of Korean blockchain. But there is a couple from Indiana University, some from the Midwest, some from Mexico, some from Barcelona. So all of us are representing different zones. All of us, incidentally, have very similar business plans. Everybody wants, just like PJ Fasa mentioned earlier, for Pittsburgh, everyone wants to create something outside of Silicon Valley. Everybody is not going to be accepted into Silicon Valley and incubate, including if you're white and if you're male and if you were born in California. You just might not be from the right school. You're not going to get in. But this is open source. So why can't you be from Ohio and have an accelerator that benefits the state of Ohio? Why can't we have an accelerator that links? I don't care. I went to a primarily white university. I went to West Virginia University undergrad and Long Island University as a grad. But what I'm saying is you're going to have Howard work with Hampton, work with Bowie, you have the hotbed right here in the DMV to take startups that are struggling, because that black-led startups are struggling to get funding. They're struggling for the white press to cover them. They're struggling because black press is taking payola and they're not covering. They didn't cover us in the dot-com era. They're not covering it now, ever. That's why you have to come to a conference like this to get a clue who David Benjamin is, who's in that quiz. You don't even turn around. He's got founders right here. Jamari, who won this particular quiz competition, also works with David, also has his own startup. But Jamari will stand in front of a stage and someone will tell him, Jamari, you're confused. You need to choose. You can't work with David and his founder as be his CTO and have your own. Meanwhile, Juan Bennett has 4 different companies. He's got Protocol Labs, he's got Filecoin, he's got Interplanetary File System, and there's another one that whatever. So he can do it all and he can get funded, and great for him because he's actually learning on the job, employing a whole lot of people, and he's not starving, his family's not. So even if he fails, he succeeds. And I'm not speaking out of ignorance. I was hired by 2 startup founders when I worked for theglobe.com. I was at 28 years old, I was one of the oldest people at the company. They were going back to graduate and work at Cornell that August when they hired me in April. They had $6 million. They said, Deidre, They looked at the guy, Chris Oxley, looked at my resume. He said they really just needed someone who could spell because their site was all jacked up. So I had a journalism background, and I knew HTML because I had sort of put to go into Manhattan and go to an organization called Web Girls, which was teaching women how to code in HTML. So I was the only candidate they had, basically, and I didn't know it at the time. Looked at my resume, handed it back to me. When can you start? Can you start on Monday? Offered to double my salary, dental, full benefits, and were bragging about how they had $6 million and were on their way to get more investments. But they can concentrate on innovating. They can concentrate on experimenting. Now, theglobe.com is infamous for having the highest first-day gain and then failing into oblivion. But the two founders of my company, they went separate ways. They're at their second startup company. They have never worked for anybody a day in their life. So you have to realize that people are realizing that your business, 9 out of 10 businesses don't succeed, but they're learning. They're figuring out. They opened the door for Facebook, and they know that they did. In fact, when Facebook decided to have its IPO, one of my co-founders came forward and said, look, we realize you're going to have an IPO, but that might be not be the best way to go because we went through it and we know what that process is like. Now, Zuckerberg didn't listen, and we had the situation we have now, but they had the wisdom because they had been through it before. So I'm going to close it by saying we did promise a prize. The prize we're going to put on that Slido page, if you can get to it, everybody wins. We have created a document of more than 133 blockchain CTOs, founders, professionals. We want you to know their names. We want you to know what they're doing. We want you to reach out to them. And if I've missed anyone, not only do we apologize, but we invite you to click our deck, which is at the top, which is about our proposal. But in there, we have our email addresses, Ryan and I. You can contact us about adding other people to the list. So we're giving you view only. Of course, it's Google Docs, so you can do whatever you want to do with it, save it, make your own copy or whatever. But we have to know each other. If we don't know each other, then we're completely failing in this idea of creating an ecosystem. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's have a big hand for Deidre McIntyre and her associate Ryan. An impassioned message. Okay, so now we're going to have a small break. We want you to take about 7 minutes. And then from there, we're going to have a great keynote speech from Dr. Arikana. Arikana. So 7 minutes, and then we'll see you right back here.